Hey guys, welcome back. Jamie with Heroic Scale Gamers. From buying your first box of minis and paints to being a competent player at the gaming table, we got you covered. We're back with another installment of our ongoing video series on painting our Harlequin Rescue Army. Show you guys what that looked like when we got it. We stripped the models down, and then we have been working on them. We finished the Star Weaver in the first set of videos, and now we're working on our troops. In the last video, we got all of our reds highlighted up and we got all of our gold shaded down. In this video, we're going to do some line highlighting, very similar to what we did on the Star Weaver. So we're going to do those warm grays on all of our leather, and then we're actually going to do a cool gray on our weapons. So we're going to get a chance to show you the exact same techniques, but using two different sets of gray to highlight black. In doing so, we're actually going to show you a very nice way to differentiate between the two surfaces, but still get the same type of highlight done. So we're going to start with our Eshin gray again, that we're going to put on all of our clothing to get our highlights done. We're going to put some of that out of our palette here, water it down just slightly, and we're going to load up our brush and get started. Alright, so there's not a lot of area here that we're actually going to do this highlight on, but the area that we're going to touch is really going to set the model off. So we're going to start with the collar, and this runs all the way along the back side of her neck on both sides. Perfect. And we're going to switch to our front view here because we actually have a lapel that we're also going to touch up on both sides. So as I've spoken about in previous videos, a lot of people find that this technique is very difficult. And I would say it's not actually that difficult. Once you understand how the hand works and how your fingers work, you'll actually find that by just positioning the model, you can actually set yourself up to be able to do some fine detail lines with minimal effort. Come down here to her foot and get the point of her foot. Get her ankle here on both sides, obviously. What was that last part? Oh, and if you'll notice, she had two gems on her that I actually did off camera. And if you'd like to see how to do that, you can go over to our Patreon page and join our Patreon, and it will actually give you access to the fifth and final installment on the Star Weaver, which was finishing touches. And you'll be able to see how I do these gems. A little bit on the tip of her knee there. Let's see, make sure I got it pretty good. And then we're going to do right on the inside of her elbow here. Just like that. And the edge of her wrist. All right, next, we're going to take some Mechanicus Standard Gray. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a cooler color. A lot of people are probably curious what that means. So, if you've ever seen a color wheel, there are two types of colors. There's warm colors and bright colors. I'm sorry, warm colors and cool colors. Warm colors tend to be duller, whereas cool colors tend to be brighter. And because we're utilizing two different surfaces, I want to basically highlight both, but I want to use different colors to do it so that you can differentiate between the surfaces. Now, there's not a lot of surface area with which to do this, but it does make a big difference in the final product. So what we're doing here is we're just kind of doing a little edge highlight just like we did on the other surfaces to force that perspective that we were talking about and just make it pop. And we're going to do that on both weapons. Now over here, it's interesting because on this one there are these finials that run down the main part of the weapon. And there's 4 of them. And we're actually going to paint the entire portion of those finials with our base coat here on our highlight. And you can see that I made a small mistake and kind of overshot, which is actually very easily fixed. We also want to do the very tip of this weapon as well. Go. And then where it actually connects on the wrist gauntlet, we're also going to put just a small highlight on both ends. There, just like that. Right, and then I almost missed the back side of the weapon here. There we go, just like that. Quick and easy. So I was telling you earlier, when you make a mistake, that's actually really easy to fix. We're just going to go in and take some of our Pro Acryl black that we use to actually prime the model with our airbrush. And then we're just going to touch that up, just like that. Cool. Easy peasy. All right. So next, we're going to go back over our cloth work with some Dawnstone. This is going to be the finishing color for this highlight set. Once again, we're going to switch to our detail brush because it gives us a little more control, a little bit finer point. And then same thing as we did before. We're not covering all of that previous work. We're touching just the very edges. Same thing on the lapel on both sides. And same thing as we're working on the fabric of her knees. On the tip of her knee, we're just going to hit the highest point. Down here and get the very tip of her boot. Ankle. Hit that high point again on both sides. So we're also going to high point. We're also going to hit the low point on this inside because there's a fold there. And then the very edge there. And then these boom, boom. And that is going to pretty much do it there. Now we're going to take some administrating gray and we're going to go over all of the weapon parts that we just did. Now we're also going to take this and we're going to hit up on her coat front, there are little buttons, and we're going to touch those up as well with this gray. Start on our weapon. It's a little bit of extra paint on there. Down. Touch it up there. Same thing here. Come to the other side. And these are those buttons I was telling you about. Three of them. 1, 2, and 3. Now, on these finials I was talking about before, we're actually going to go about halfway. Oh, there we go. About halfway. And we're going to leave some of that previous highlight showing. It's a little tough to get at. Okay. And then we're going to touch that tip again. Try to leave some of that gray showing. It's a little tough because it's a very small area, but if you cover over all of it, it's not a huge, big deal. And then we want to make sure that we get the very edges of the gun like we did on the other side. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to do is on the opposite side of those little buttons are little straps. And we're going to take just a little bit of Mournfang brown, and we're going to touch those up, and they'll make them look like they're leather. So what you want to do here is just make sure you don't have a whole lot of paint loaded up onto your brush. One, two, three. Just like that. And then if you also look, there's another one that I missed, and I almost missed it on this one too. There's also one on the wrist over here. So I have to go through and make sure I get that button as well. There you go, just like that. All right, pretty good. And then last but not least, our last finishing touch is we're going to take a little bit of Hoeth blue, and on each of the weapons are some very small gems, and we're just going to lightly go over those with this and then throw a little art coat on it to make them stand out. You see there's one right here. Right there. And there's one on the very top. It's a little bit hard to see because her hair is in the way. And then on this, you can see one right there. Right there. One just on the other side. Right there. Now, one thing I also did is I added just a little bit of white to the very tips of the finials. And that's just to kind of make them stand out just a little bit more. And then just at the very tip of the weapon itself. And then the nice thing is we still have some of that hard coat varnish that I used earlier. We're just going to touch them over those gems, kind of make them shiny. And then just like that, you have a finished trooper to match your squad mate. So that's pretty much all you have to do to get your troops ready. Hopefully you can join us for our next installment. I think the next one we're going to do are the bikes. That'll probably be done in about 6 parts because we have to do not just the bike, we also have to do the riders. And like I said, in the end, what we'll end up with is taking this once silver army and turn it into something that we would be proud to put on the table very, very quickly. And so hopefully you can join us for the next one.